We made it. It's week 14. But if I'm being honest, playoffs start right now.
We doing everything they talk about. You know I'm everything a boss about. Not putting work and gotta toss them out. I'm really biting, they just barking out. I'm really riding, they just talking now. His street, what to talk about. See the big H when I'm walking out. Yeah.
Everyone, welcome to the Athletes Forum podcast. As today we are going over a number of topics, but one of the first things we want to dive into, and we'll get right into it, is week 14 in the European League of Football. Playoffs start right now. Before we dive into all that, locker room, drop a comment. You know what time it is. Subscribe to the channel. Share with a friend. Let's keep these ELF conversations going, you know? So, yeah, I'm not going to waste any time. Let's dive right into it. Playoffs start right now in the European League of Football. And then what I would say in regards to scheduling is that the league did a very good job this year at obviously not knowing how it was going to pan out, but we got a lot of good games towards the end of the season that have meant something and that have made a mark in history in regards to some of the biggest games in the history of the European League of Football. And we got another one brewing. This week. So what I want to do right now is I just want to give you guys some quick picks, dive right into the game of the week, Raiders, Ravens. It's going to be a classic, another one, probably the third one we've got in a row. And then talk a little about playoff scenarios and stuff like that. So just some quick picks for us to dive into as we head into this week's slate. First one, again, Cologne versus Centurions. I think the Centurions, am I saying that right? Yeah, for some reason it sounded weird. I think the Centurions packed it in. I think Cologne's going for one of their bounce back seasons and something to build off heading into next year. I think Cologne will win this game. I think Fahavar is ready for the offseason. At least that's what it seems like and what they've displayed on the field. They may want to close it out strong in the final home game, but I personally don't see it happening. So I'm going to rock with Cologne to get the dub. Munich, Hamburg. This is huge for Munich. Madrid, Hamburg. This is huge for Madrid. Madrid basically has to blow out the Sea Devils. And the reason why I say that is because you can't leave anything at risk. You obviously they're in a position where they gotta hope the Ravens win, the Surge lose, but you also gotta outscore that game. So for them, it's points or nothing. And hopefully we get a display of fireworks in Croatia, which is the international game this year. But we'll see. Hamburg has been a disappointing season. There's no way around it. For one of the founding teams, for them to have this type of season, obviously, it's not what you planned, but it is what it is. We'll see how they can bounce back. Hopefully, they bounce back, but we're just going to take this game. Last game for Helvetic. Shout out to Milan Spiller. Hopefully, he gets his 1,000 yards. If you haven't, check out the video Matt Breslin put out breaking down his game, coming from one of the smaller divisions in the Swiss Football League to being one of the new incoming stars in the league. Kudos to him. Kudos to the talent in Switzerland. Surge go win this game. They're playing to get the 2 seed. They also need points. I think it's not as crazy as it is, Madrid, but I think Surge win this game. They get the 2 seed and they get the bye. Barcelona, Milan. I'll keep this one short and sweet. Barcelona scored 7 points in the last 6 games. Milan takes the victory. Paris versus Frankfurt. I think this game had potential to be interesting. Paris, obviously, in the playoffs, they're playing for the 4th or 5th seed, but you're also playing not to see the fire. So for them, they gotta win. Otherwise, you gotta travel the fire. We saw how that panned out last time. They're gonna play their guys. Frankfurt, I think we're getting a Morris Mack. I think this will be a number of starts for him as he's been before in this position. But I don't see it happening. I think Paris takes a dub. I think we'll see how they finish. It's going to tell us a lot about Paris heading into the postseason if they don't finish the season out strong. So we'll see what happens there. Russell versus Prague. Prague today, they actually Dan Dish is stepping down as head coach. He was the guy that was there year one with everything that happened, and Coach Zach, and then he was the guy heading into this season, thought he could turn around. Looks like they're going in a different direction. Looks like he wanted to go in a different direction. We'll see where Prague ends up. But kudos to Dan. Shout out to Dan Dish for getting his team ready to get that first victory of that franchise. Russell, they're hot, but it's just too late for them. It's just too late. So I think the Panthers are going to win this game. And then we get to the game of the week. But before we get to the game of the week, let's talk about the playoff scenarios here. So Paris, you win 4 seed, you lose, you're the 5th seed. Simple as that. Madrid, they lose, they're out. If they win, they got to hope Munich, if I'm reading this correctly, beats the Raiders, and they got to outscore them. And then Munich, who's essentially officially in the playoffs, they're just playing for seeding at this point. But this game has a lot of juice to it, and the Raiders need this more than anyone, so to say, because they could be left out. There's a chance the Raiders could get left out of the playoffs. But let's break this game down a little bit. Raiders Ravens. I tell you what, this week it don't get no better than this. Both 8-3. Obviously, both had different paths heading into the season. The first time these two teams played, you can essentially say that Raiders stole the game. It was the first time N'Kosi Perry was playing. Ravens didn't know much about him and his skill set. We didn't know as a community much about N'Kosi Perry. So really, now that there's a book on N'Kosi Perry in terms of like his skill set and who he is as a player, what he could do, how do the Ravens play against him? The Ravens are a totally different team from the last time they played. Markel Castle has been dominant. Tommy Away has been dominant. That offense has been high-powered, obviously against lesser talent. But the key for them is, how are you going to stop the run? For me, in my eyes, the Raiders are the most dangerous team heading into the playoffs, because defense and running the ball travels. That's something Munich also can do as well, too. So this is going to be a physical one, and I like it. I like that it's coming down to this game, last game of the year. And we kind of had an idea that this was a possibility, but glad that it actually happened to see how it pans out. So for me, I think the key is who could stop the run, who could limit the big plays. It sounds easy, but these two teams have been fireworks over the past couple weeks. It's also going to come down to coaching. Like who gets tight in certain spots, who makes certain decisions, like who's willing to take a chance. How do you defend, the three-headed monster in the backfield with Perry and Bonatti if he's not hurt. And I forgot the other running back's name, and excuse my forgiveness, but what's gonna happen, what's gonna pan out. This game is going to be huge, and I'm here for it, and I'm excited for it, and I'm here for all the smoke. So if you're asking me to pick a game or pick a team to take this game, I think Raiders on the road. Will they bring out the icy whites? I don't know. It's homecoming from Munich. There's a lot riding on the line. I'm gonna rock with the Ravens for this one. I think the Ravens find a way to pull it out at home. They learn from their mistakes. They have the book on Perry. They're going to see a totally different game plan. Perry is known for obviously scoring points, but is also known for turning the ball over a little bit. Can the Ravens capitalize? I think we have a chance to get the best Chad Jeffries game this season against good quality teams, and we'll see what happens. But that's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say the Ravens pull off the win. Sorry, Ricardo. The Ravens pull off the win, get the Raiders. I still think this is hard, because now do the Raiders make the playoffs? If I'm projecting Madrid to blow out Hamburg, that means I'm thinking they're going to score more points. So that means the Raiders might be out. In my scenario, I like it hard. Hey, we'll dive into that next week, but Ravens this game. Thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and let's talk some ball. Let's see how this goes. Week 14. The playoffs start now.